Right, some bits I've missed out.
Have a call back for 8662 Central. Negative K, nothing further, just see the cabbie on the corner.
So what I missed was the first entry. It's probably because this advert in the middle of it. Disoriented subject, right? Another thing that we need to keep an eye on is these numbers, right? So L1, so 22, it's just the last two digits you need to look at. So it's 05 are the last two digits of that reference number, okay? Okay, now, disoriented subject, 406th Street. 406th Street is St. Joseph's Memorial Hospital. It's the hospital. It's the hospital for Lewiston and Clarkston, basically. And I guess if Gritman's busy or for some reason, you know, it might be it's too busy and so they get taken down to St. Joseph's, I presume, or maybe if somebody could just be in that area, or it might just be completely irrelevant, right? But this is at 8:30 in the morning. Male left on a hospital mental hold, walked out the north entrance, white and grey hoodie, black hair, dark shorts, right? So I'll read that again. A male has left. He was on a mental health hold. He walked out the north entrance. He was wearing white and grey hoodie, black hair and dark shorts. Shorts, quite unusual for that time of year, really. Now this person has a grey hoodie, but they've also got a green jacket. Male lying on the sidewalk. Let me just shut the door. Male has a grey hoodie, green jacket, now standing up, waving at traffic. But the one thing, I have read through quite a few of Lewiston's entries a few days now. I've read through the whole week and a few others here and there, and Lewiston does sound like there seems to be quite a few people with mental health issues out and about. It seems like there's more issues, I think, more significant issues in Lewiston from what I've noticed. Although I would say I haven't seen as much about drugs. But you just don't know with MPD if they are being overly suspicious and overly cautious, because I get the impression that they're like that, which is so ironic that they have missed. That's what's so suspicious about it, because they're on things like straight away, you know, and things that are less serious, they're treating as if they're more serious, which is why they didn't know what to do when there was something serious happening, because they've got everything out of proportion. From what I can tell, I mean, well, not just from what I can tell, these alcohol stops are just utterly ridiculous, and they're just a money-making scheme. And I just don't know at whose behest this is. I just don't know. But it's made people, I think it's made young people more cautious of the police. They're seeing them as the enemy more. And this is where I think some problems have come in. This is where this is a possibility. They're not trusted. They're not who you want to go to when you're in trouble. They're not the first person you think of. Interestingly, I've been looking at these. I've been looking at things written by dispatchers, but also, on the dispatch team, not like undertakers or anything. And also I've seen on Reddit some people who said about like an incident that happened with them. And often the first person that people call is a friend or relative, like their mom, like Kaylee did when she thought that somebody was following her. It's in a previous video of mine. First person she called, her mum. Her mum says, call the police. And then apparently she said, oh, it's okay, they've gone now or something. But it's weird because Christy said it as if, no, she doesn't have anybody following her. Because if she had somebody following her, this is what she'd do, giving an example of somebody following her. So that was really strange. Not strange, that sounds like something that my mum would say. And as much as people love to say, they're not girls, they're not kids, you can say that till you're blue in the face. And it does depend on where you come from and your background as to how quickly you grow up and other factors. But they've still got that mentality. If they haven't been living, it takes a long time for you to not see adults as adults, just to see them as your equals. Because especially they're being taught that they're not adults yet. They can't even drink alcohol. You're not an adult yet. You're only 20. Well, what? Which way is it then? They're only 20, so they're not old enough to drink alcohol, but they can drive a car. I mean, which one kills more people, cars or alcohol? And some people just come across as older. And there's some interesting things with this. Fast forward it if you're not interested. But one thing that's very interesting is, and you wouldn't think of this one thing is birth order, whether you're the firstborn, the youngest, the middle, an only child. Those things make somewhat of a difference. Depending on how your parents treat you, that could make things different. But if they treat you in the conventional way, then you can kind of judge how you might react to things. Depends on age gaps as well. You can tell I've read into this a little bit. Guess where I fall. If you don't already know, you might think, oh, I can tell you're from your interest in this. But the thing that is quite a big thing is, now I don't know how school year groups fall. I think it might be similar to ours. So we start a new school year in September and finish in July. So I'm assuming it's something like that with America also. So you're so all the autumn babies, now they're the ones who are most likely to feel and to act older, because they get treated older when they're at school, and they also get treated, this is an unintentional thing, but those kids are often, teachers aren't thinking about the fact that these kids are older than other kids in the class, but they're often being used as a good example and often being trusted with things, and they just become more confident and mature. And the closer you are to a summer-born baby, the less likely that you'll always feel a bit younger, and that could stay with you. It's really interesting. There's a lot of research on it. In the UK, I don't think most people would know this unless they're a teacher, but it actually counts as a vulnerable group. The summer, you have vulnerable kids that are classed as vulnerable, right? And it will be things like coming from receiving state help, so benefits we'd call it over here, or And I think of other examples. I can say single parent family, but I'm not sure if that would be, because I'm not sure if they'd even know that. But they're, say if you were a child that was looked after by adopted, or more likely in foster care. So there's these vulnerable groups, and interestingly, summer-born children are considered a vulnerable group. It's interesting, isn't it? Anyway, I'm off topic, aren't I? I don't even know how I got here, right. So, that's the one lying on the sidewalk. This is a levy BYP. Still haven't looked that up. Somewhere on the levy. Is it levy like Chevy to the levy? Or is that because it's spelt different here? Levy. An embankment. And I think it is the same thing. It's just for some reason spelt different. Where am I? I've got lost now. So, that's the one lying on the sidewalk. This is a levy BYP. Still haven't looked that up. So let's just recap. We had disoriented subject at 8:30. We've got someone lying on the sidewalk, also in a grey hoodie, but this one's got a green jacket, so it might be somebody different. Then we have somebody actively suicidal near the river and has history of suicide attempts. Then we have that theft of tools at Walmart. Then we have somebody trying to leave. It's interesting how they've just put in the ER trying to leave. They've not put a subject, a person wearing this. They've just put in the ER, almost as if this is something ongoing and the police would know what they're talking about. Unless they just didn't have much time, or they're new on the job, or okay, back to this person. This sounds like it's the same person, but I'm not sure, because then there's another entry in a minute. So we've read this one already. Subject just left on a mental health hold, left out the north entrance in blue patient scrubs. Okay. This was at 2:30 in the afternoon. So, shortly after, this person leaves in their blue scrubs. We have somebody 20 minutes later, unless they haven't left and this is a different person reporting it. Subject keeps threatening to run and leave. ER asking for help. But this is interesting. She is still in the building. Now, unless they thought she'd left, but she hadn't left, or unless this is a different person. Keeps threatening to run and leave. ER staff asking for help. She is still in the building. So, right, there's a bit of a hoo-ha going on over in Lewiston by the looks of it. It's a custody thing, juvenile thing. Suspicious person. Red Honda in the area, doesn't live in the area, has been there daily for a bit. Probably irrelevant, nearly 4 p.m. Now, unwanted subject. Male is wearing dark sweats and a plaid jacket. Male is walking away and talking to himself, was yelling at everyone. Collision. Reckless driving. It's all going on here. I mean, it seems like an absolutely crazy day in Lewiston, but some of the other days are much different. Deputy requiring assistance on traffic stop. So that's interesting, isn't it? At 6 p.m. I mean, they would have been out looking for the perpetrator, and this person's requesting assistance. Now, traffic stops are just a traffic stop. Why do they need assistance? Right, back to a suicidal person. Oh no, this is a 13-year-old. Oh, God. And then we've got a prowler. Complainant heard a noise outside, and when she went outside, she saw the silhouette of a man standing in the backyard, I presume. That's 10:30 at night. Back, suicidal person. 600 Walnut Avenue. So whoever they are, they're not at St. Joseph's. Complainant advised friend sounds delirious and wants to end her life. Right. So, yeah, a bit of a mad day in Lewiston. So I'll put this in the description and I'll pin it in the comments, but if it's not in the comments when you look, because I tend to forget to put it into the description first, and then sometimes don't remember till later to put it in the comments. So if it's not in the comments, it's in the description. Have a look if you want. And the other thing that I wanted to say was about the reference numbers. I know I'm not using the right term there. Can't think what it'd be. This one starts at 05. And then we have 06, so looking at the last two digits, 07, 08, 09, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, there's a point to this, 22, 23, 24. Now we've got no 25 and 26. And we're on to 27. No 28, we've got 29. No 30, we're on to 31. 32, 33. 34, 35, 36, 37, 38. No 39 or 40. 41. And that's it for that day. Now, further on in the video, I'm going to read some information about when... Well, actually, I don't think the same rules would apply for this one. But I strongly believe that they won't include everything. There will be some things that they leave out. It's this about interpreting the crime log. Okay. In compliance with the federal reporting requirement, the daily crime log records all criminal incidents and alleged criminal incidents, right? But there isn't a separate crime log for U of I, whereas there is for I can't see one for Pullman, but I think Pullman might come under Whitman County. So I think clearly the crime log all comes as one thing, because we've seen student crimes on there. We've seen the Banfield thing and the alcohol, the girl who was done for underage drinking. So it's all going on that crime log, isn't it? So some incidents with a case number involve information received from other university administrators who are defined by federal law as campus security authorities. These administrators share non-identifying information with the university police that is provided by the victim. In these incidents, the victim did not file an official police report. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? And therefore, it is not... Well, that's very interesting, because it almost always says report no report taken. So they're saying the victim didn't file a police report, but it doesn't really seem like it's in the hands of the victim. The victim probably assumes that a police report will be filed and probably thinks that would be normal procedure, which I would in a lot of these cases. The victim did not file an official police report, and therefore it is not always possible to provide information regarding the 5 areas typically covered in the crime log, i.e. report number, offence, date reported, date occurred, time, general location, synopsis, disposition. That sounds like a bit of a get-out clause there. Because an official report was not filed, there will be no disposition. I don't know what that means. These incidents... I'm going to have to look it up. Disposition. But that's not going to come up with it in this context, is it? I don't know what it means in this context. You have to tell me in the comments. We're back here. Okay. These incidents are reported to the university police for statistical purposes and are posted to the crime log as the information is received by the university police. Okay, so interesting to know, what if it was university police that dealt with this? Do they always record things in the crime log? But here, this is the bit that I wanted to show you. And it says this, I've seen this on several websites. According to federal law, an institution may withhold any of the required fields of entry, i.e. the nature, date, time, location and or disposition, if any of the following conditions apply. The disclosure is prohibited by law. If disclosure would jeopardise the confidentiality of the victim. If disclosure would jeopardise an ongoing criminal investigation on the safety of an individual. If disclosure would cause a suspect to flee or evade detection. If disclosure would result in the destruction of evidence. Now in our minds, it might be that none of those would be affected by the 911, if there was a 911 call earlier, of it being in the crime log. But they're the police, and they could. I've heard them talk nonsense. I've heard Chief Fry answer questions and just say the most ridiculous thing because he just couldn't answer the question. And I think he would probably be better off just not giving information at all, because now you just don't know what's true and what's not. So, and everybody just accepting that. So I think they could get away with not recording it and then justifying it under one of these, because they didn't act, as far as we know, they didn't act early enough. It might have been that they got there and there was nothing they could do. And it might be that the bodies were all removed, earlier. I know we've got all these reports from the family members and the friends and stuff were over there, but we don't know who these people are on these. That Dave, he sounded quite genuine, but there's different people popping up, and it's hard to know who is bona fide and who isn't. And it could be the case that, like I said, she just did go downstairs with Bethany, and that somehow these crimes, you just could not really hear anything. The other thing is, other people have said that they've been threatened. And there are other possibilities, which I'll go into in other videos. But I think I might have... I think that I might be better off leaving it that for now. But so, look, this is another different website that says the same thing. According to federal law, an institution may withhold any of the required fields of entry, nature, time, date, location, and or disposition, if any of the following apply. The disclosure is prohibited by law. I don't know what that means. I don't know what disclosure would be prohibited by law. If disclosure would jeopardise the confidentiality of the victim, if disclosure would jeopardise an ongoing criminal investigation, or the safety of an individual, if disclosure would cause a suspect to flee or evade detection, if disclosure would result in the destruction of evidence. So this is the last entry on the 12th, and as you might expect, the last two digits are what you would expect to precede the next day. So we've got 92 as the last two digits here, and you'd expect 93 for the next day, and it is indeed 93, okay? So we're on the 13th now in Moscow. So we haven't got a 94. So that is between the hours of 1:08 and 1:43. There's an entry missing. We've got 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 00, 01, 02, 03. So we have an entry missing between about 1 a.m, 1:08 and 1:43. Interesting. There is a missing entry.